welcome. Again, welcome all to our fall review session. We're honored to be able to present this to you and have you as part of our review as you are focusing on expanding your career horizons and also your professional development. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Nora Powers, the co-chair for this committee. And she's going to take it away and start introducing folks as we go through the presentation. And we want this to be very interactive. So please use the chat, like Rick has said, to ask questions or comments, or if there's anything we don't have an answer for, we'll parking lot it, as we call it, and we'll have an answer for you at the next session. So we'll go ahead to our next slide and have us introduce each other. So I'm Sherry Ambrose, and I'm working with our team here from Cal, and we'll be presenting this session together as a group, and I'm going to hand it off to Nora, my co-chair.
Hi, Nora Powers. I like to call myself the token payer rep in the chapter I work with, Aetna. And I've been doing this advancement committee now for 10 years, and it never gets old. This is new. This is the third time we've been able to do a webinar series. We used to do this in person, but this never gets old to do this. And we're so excited that this many people are interested in participating. Rick, would you like to introduce yourself really quick?
Hey, I'm Rick Garrett. I'm been a member of Cal since it began, and been on this committee for a long time. I don't know how many years. And in my real life, I'm professor of health services administration at California State University at Chico.
I'll hand it off to Michael.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Michael DeCoco. I've been with Cal for almost 7 years and been with the Member Advancement Committee for 3 years. And I think we were the one who started the virtual, the group who started the virtual review. So I am the current Regional Director for Laboratory Services for Adventist Health in Mendocino region. Thank you and welcome, everyone.
We'll hear from Sachin.
Hi, my name is Sachin Gangupantala. I've been a member of Cal for 5 years or so, and with the Advancement Committee for just over a year, joining the club here on the Board of Governors preparation. I am director and a co-founder of a private clinic here in Modesto, along with my physician wife. That's my day job, while we work together as a team to help all of the folks to get on board on the FACE-THC credentialing. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us this morning.
And we're proud to present our SOUL group, and I'll hand it off to Nick in our next slide.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'll hand it off to Ms. Thuy Do, my co-chair and partner for this fall BOG session.
Oh, hi, Nick. Well, thank you. It's an honor to be a part of this group. I've been a part of SOUL for about 2 years now, just graduated from SDSU. So it's such an honor and a privilege to be here. And it's been great working with Nick and with everybody at Cal. So thank you so much. And I'll hand it back to Nick.
Yes, my name is Nicholas Hance from SOUL, and we just want to say on behalf of all of our military personnel, thank you for your service and thank you for joining us this morning. And we also have a special guest, Miss Angela Rivera. She will be joining us week 5 to teach information technology and information management.
Great, and I misspelled, I could have done a better job, but go ahead to the folks that are out in the audience and introduce yourself in chat. It's fun to see everyone accordingly and where you're from. We really appreciate that.
So I'm constantly amazed at the caliber of the people that participate with us. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting to meet all of you, even if it is just virtually at this point. Can we go ahead and go to the next slide, Sachin, please? Okay, so truly, we're going to blast through this introductory portion. A lot of this information you can find online at the ACHE site under the fellow, the FACHE site there. So they didn't have this when I was, first starting out and trying to get my my fellow credentials. So this is fabulous. And again, we're going to blast through this, and there's some things that we will keep coming back to. But the one thing I want to emphasize off the bat is that in no way are we pretending during this entire series to give you the information that you need to study. Our emphasis is on the knowledge areas that are important, with Rick's oh so excellent pre-recorded, and Stan has one in there as well. With those pre-recorded presentations, he gives a good overview of what you need to concentrate on. But again, the detail comes from some of the resources we're going to give you, some of the resources you can get through ACHE. And we're going to try to answer as many of your questions as you can, but please don't, I don't want you to get the impression that just listening to us, just checking in on with the series will give you all the details that you need to know for the test. Our emphasis is on how to study for the test. And more importantly, our secret sauce is how to read the questions, how to interpret the questions. And then Sherry's really good at walking us through breathing techniques to just calm down. She even does it with us before we get on board. Rick does what we call a brain walk, where he will present the questions and his approach on how to read the question, understand the question, and how to get to the best answer is key to what we're trying to portray or to share with you over these next 5 weeks. In general, and you'll see some of the details later. In general, when you're looking at the questions for this exam, the broadest answer is usually the correct one. So anyway, on that note, so please go to the ACHE site, go to the FACHE section of that site, and you'll find all this information there, and then some much more detail than we can present here. Next slide, please. Okay, so a key here, most of you may already know this, but the key to eligibility to even apply to take the exam is, what's new this year is you only need 1 year of tenure with ACHE. It used to be 3 years, but you need to be a member for at least a year. Next slide, please. You must have some sort of advanced degree, either a master's or some other post-baccalaureate degree. On the website, they give you some examples. And then again, if any questions you have, we will try to answer as best we can. Recommend checking out the ACHE site, and then the customer service team at ACHE is fabulous. ACHE wants everybody to advance to fellow, so they will do their best to help you with this. Okay, next slide. So here's one of the other key pieces of this. You must have a current healthcare executive management position and a minimum of 5 years of healthcare management experience. So the challenge has been what qualifies as a position and the experience. And ACHE has put some a matrix together to help you understand that. And plus, you can get some career counseling or some of the counseling through CHE to help you determine how to fill out this matrix and how to interpret it. Okay, next slide. Okay, well, and here's the matrix. Again, it's available on the site. You can print it out. What some people have done is that they found it very helpful to find other ACHE and other fellows within their organization to help them with this as well. Next slide. Okay, so the continuing education requirements prior to applying for advancement are 36 hours of continuing education in the past 36 months, 12 of which have to be face-to-face education credits. And basically, and the remaining can be either face-to-face or qualified education. And in the website, you can see the difference between the two. But basically, the face-to-face credits are the classes put on by ACHE directly, or using templates that each chapter can then present. And when you see education opportunities through your local chapter ACHE, they'll tell you whether they're face-to-face or qualified education credits. Next slide, please. And then you need to have volunteer activities over the past 3 years. 2 of them need to be community or civic activities, and 2 healthcare related activities. I think I might have to recheck that one because one needs to be, you know what, I'll get back to you on that. But anyway, you need to have examples of volunteer activities. And again, ACHE is really good at helping you decide if what your activities can qualify. But basically for community, it's anything that you're doing in the community. It doesn't have to be healthcare related. With the healthcare related activities, most of the time it's something that you either do through your organization, or even if you're volunteering for a food bank or Easter Seals or the Heart Walk, those qualify. Okay, next slide. And then 2 references from a fellow. And now usually ACHE requests that you go through your own organization to find a fellow. I mean, that's the whole point about this networking. And as fellows, our mission is to mentor and assist other members in their credentialing, in their career, in advancing in the to fellow. And one reference needs to be a structured interview. The details are in the ACHE website on what qualifies as a structured interview. And then they are asking for, you know, a senior level of executive within your organization or higher. If you're having trouble finding fellows, good news, you through the member directory, you can find fellows within your own organization. If you're still having trouble, reach out to us. Just by virtue of participating with us, we feel comfortable being able to be a reference for you. Okay, next slide. Okay, so there is an application process. And again, we're going to blast through this really quickly. And again, all these details are on the site, but there is a form you can fill out online. You fill out all the details. It helps you keep track. ACHE will help answer any questions. You submit the application fee. And then at that point, ACHE will approve the application and then give you the information on how to then schedule the exam. It's good for 2 years once you get the approval. And then you register for the exam within you register for the exam, pay the fee, and then within 30 days of paying that fee, then you need to actually take the exam. You can take it as many times as you need. You have to wait 60 days between, I'll have to check, between taking the exam. And then what's different than when I had to do this on paper, the exams are given at Purview computer-based testing centers, or if you wait to go to Congress, they'll do it paper in Congress. And we'll give you some tips about the computer testing. Next slide. Oh, Rick, that was yours, wasn't it?
No, I think this is fine.
Sorry.
It's okay. Am I getting echoed? I can't tell. Okay,
No.
so I think everyone knows there are 10 areas that are included within the test. And what I want to remind everyone of is that you probably know a bunch of these already, right? Just because of your day-to-day stuff, whatever you do, you are probably an expert in at least one and probably a few more of these. When I took the test, and I'm younger than Nora, so I actually took it on computer, but when I took it, I felt fine with law because I teach healthcare law. I felt fine with ethics. I teach that. I felt fine with health system because I teach that. Well, guess what? I do not pay any attention in my life to finance if I can possibly avoid it. I really go out of my way to avoid anything to do with HR. Quality, governance, those are things I just don't deal with day to day. So at the beginning, when I was getting ready, I said, okay, well, which of these do I need to put my effort into? And that's where I put my time and effort, and that's where it worked out well for me. As you do practice sessions, and you'll see a program later called Quizlet, as you do those, you'll probably identify which areas you don't need to spend a lot of time on and which areas you do, right? So that gives you much better use of your study time, your prep time. Next slide, please. So the exam itself, it's got 230 questions, but 30 of them are test questions. That is questions that ACHE is trying out, and then they'll do the statistical analysis afterwards to see whether it's valid enough to put into the exam. And that tells you that they are updating it periodically as the health system changes. That's the good news. The bad news is you don't have the slightest idea which of the 30 test questions and which are the real ones. So you gotta go through and answer them all, and just pretend they're all perfect, because you have to. You have no idea. But the 30 ones will not count against you if you get them wrong. The test is supposed to be competency based, so it's not things you memorize for the most part. It's things that show that you really understand it, that you can apply it, right? So just straight memorizing overall is not necessarily a good approach. There are some areas that we'll cover where it is good to be able to remember things like specific laws, but overall you're focusing on the application. Next slide. And again, as Nora pointed out, there's a lot of things available now that didn't used to be. ACHE has really improved its process. So these are just some of them that are available. You'll be getting these links later on, but take advantage of what they have. And again, ask us if you need help with anything, but these are good starting points as well. And I think the next slide goes to Michael.
Yeah, so thank you, Rick. The previous slides, those are, helpful links and resources that will, help prepare and, prepare for your for the exam. So if you can go back to the previous slide, please, the quarterly live FACHE overview. So this is a free webinar that you can go register. It's a free registration. You'll be able to, they will be able to provide all the information on the on the eligibility requirements on the entire application process. So then the Board of Governors exam prep resources, will give you all the various information, useful books, about how to study, information about the exam study set, flashcards, and exam study bundles. So you'll be able to see it there. And FAQs and reference list. The FAQs I find so useful because there's a lot of questions there that you can go and look for the answers. So such as test taking and exam registration and other information that you need. Reference list, it lists all the reference that are recommended for you to go and read in each body of knowledge. So next slide, please. The virtual Board of Governors exam review course, I think it will be held starting next week. It's October 5th to November 11th. So it will be, you'll be required to be in the virtual live sessions on several days. And all sessions will begin at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you will earn 14 ACHE face-to-face education credits if you join this review course.
There is a fee for joining or for taking this, but by the time you break down the hourly rate for those face-to-face education credits, it's a steal. I mean, it really is. This will help you if you have trouble getting those face-to-face credits. Bingo, this will do it. And they do offer it several times over the year, but yet you're right. The next one is coming up shortly. There may still be room.
Yeah.
In it.
Okay, so the online, thank you for that, Nora. The online tutorial is, this is a 12-week study course. This is the best way, one of the recommended and convenient way to prepare for exam and study at your own pace. So it's a 12-week self-study course. It's a purely online study format that focuses on the 10 body of knowledge. And you can have the access to all the PowerPoints, audio lectures, and reading materials actually for free if you enroll to this, online tutorial. And there's a fee also. And you will earn 10 ACHE qualified education credits for this. Next slide, please. And this is for Sherry.
Thank you. So we mentioned taking care of yourself during the exam, also doing some mental prep, as well as learning content is taking care of yourself. And I use heart-focused breathing. Don't know if anybody has any breathing techniques. Throw them in the chat if there's specific breathing techniques that you've used to help. And this is important because you really want to go as slow as you can. You have plenty of time to do the exam. You have 6 hours. It sounds like a lot, but it allows you that opportunity to really take it slow and really relax. Think about your breathing. Take a moment and pause before the exam starts, between the questions. It will absolutely clear your thinking if you practice. What we do is inhale in for 5 seconds. Think about breathing through your heart and then inhaling out for 5 seconds and just go slow. We call that heart-focused breathing. A couple other techniques that help with exam taking is read each of the options as true or false first. And Rick will talk to us a lot about that, and we'll talk to you about the brain walk, as we call it. But if you look at the test from the first question as a true or false, that will help you frame how you're going to be looking at the perspectives and knowledge that you're going to draw in to answer that question. And we can't stress enough, and we've heard it from participants that have both taken our program, is that read and reread each question and just break it down. Find out exactly what the question's asking. And as you do that, you'll start to also relax, have clarity as you're rereading it, and really break down the specific domain or topic that they're guiding this question through. Kind of general test taking techniques is beware of any question that says all of the above or all except. That's why we ask you to really reread the question. And we're going to have participants talk about their experiences and some of their successes, but we can't stress enough taking a break, at least one break through your session, and everyone will have kind of their techniques on what they did, but think about scheduling a break during the session. Get up, walk, use the restroom. You'll go back into where you're taking it, but it's very important. And you can mark questions for review, which is also important. If it just doesn't come to you at that moment, you might see something in a question ahead of what you are looking through in the exam that might trigger your recognition, and then you can go back and look at those for review. I'm also going to open it up to see if there's any of our panel too that want to add anything beyond these test taking techniques or emphasize anything.
I'm going to be adding a bullet to this slide later. Some people have found that it really helps to read the question backwards also, because then you catch like the and or the if or the but. That will help clarify it for you as well. Some people have been really successful with that. So I'm going to be adding that in.
So this is Michael. So if you are not, if you are not sure of the answer, don't give enough time on that. Just mark it to be reviewed before the end of the before you submit all your questions, because there's a option there that you can just mark it and go back again and review that later. So instead of taking time with that, so.
There's a question from our group. Is it given at Prometric? Pearson is one of the vendors, but if I thank you. You got that answer too, Rick. Appreciate that. Go ahead and we'll go to the next slide. So what do I expect from the exam? Is we really do stress planning this out as you're doing now. You're taking that extra effort today to be with us on a Saturday and do that. That's sends the message you're very interested in doing this. But allow most participants say between 3 and 6 months. I personally allowed 6 months to get prepped for it. We're going to show you, and there's ways to evaluate your level of skill, knowledge, or competency in each knowledge area. And we'll talk about it because the exam has weighted points and numbers of questions, and you don't have to pass all sections. And there'll be areas that you're more comfortable with or not, but the ones that you don't have either exposure in your career or throughout your student experiences or those areas, those are the ones you're going to really want to focus on in terms of studying. Assess your competencies, and this link will allow you to do this, is look in and kind of figure out it will match what you've had experience with or not in your career. And it doesn't mean you're not going to be able to master that particular area. It's just you're going to have to spend a little more time in that to develop more of a content database for yourself. Develop a plan of courses, reading, and mentoring in areas where you may need further skill, knowledge, or competencies. And ACH and local resources are outlined in slides 15 through 16, exam prep slide decks, and sample questions. We're also going to talk about ACH study sets, slides 20 through 21, and some more to come on that. So I will hand this off to back to Michael.
Next slide, please. So yeah, so what to expect on the exam. So you met all the requirements, you submitted your application, you're ready to take the exam, you paid all the $225 exam fee, then go to the person view testing center to schedule your exam. So the exam is scored immediately, and be sure to arrive 30 minutes before the scheduled time for your exam, to give you enough time to prepare for, or to sign in to the testing center. And as Rick said, it's 230 multiple choice. 200 questions are scored and 30 are trial questions. They are not scored but evaluated for possible use for future exams. And so what you have to expect that all the questions are all an application based. Test questions, there are different cognitive levels of test questions. They're knowledge based, the comprehension based. We still need those, the knowledge based, like remembering of facts or understanding what the terms are. But the key is you need to learn how to apply those during the exam. Next slide, please.
Okay, so the good news is ACHE offers plenty of resources for preparing for this exam. And all of this is on their website. This is this current set and editions of the 4 books that they recommend. I would say it's the most important of which is the Well-Managed Healthcare Organization. That's like the Bible of all of this, but the others are also very, very important. Next slide, please. So the study bundle includes all those books, and then the best thing ever, the flashcards, of which I have an example here. Flashcards. Oh, can't see them. The flashcards also come with digital access to Quizlet, which is a industry standard testing site, and you can create your own tests in the format that you find the easiest. ACHE has all 10 knowledge areas in there. We've found that to be very, very useful study tool, and other people have found it very, very useful for helping them prepare for the exam. Next slide. Okay, so I'm going to blast through this really quick because we're running far behind, but we recently had someone, Jennifer Whitney was in our inaugural webinar series, and she gave some tips about how she approached it and what she found useful about our series. And basically what we're presenting here is helped her understand what she needed to focus on and how to structure her studying and how to use the resources that are available. And next slide. And this is one of the things we're most proud of. This is our wall of fame. So you get your scoring immediately after you take the exam. And what we would like you to do is, once you take the exam, take a picture of yourself, either with the test results or with your your diploma, and send it to us, and we'll add you to our wall of fame, because this is our pride and joy. This is why we do this. Okay, and again, one of the things that I didn't emphasize early on, I had sent the introductory email out. After this session, I'm going to be sending all the materials we covered here in one email. And then another email will be coming later this week with the link to the pre-recorded presentation for next week, as well as the highlights. So what we're going to be sharing after this session will be this PowerPoint, the upcoming one with the healthcare sample questions, and we've got some additional just sample questions that we've gathered over time, as well as so we don't have a PowerPoint presentation of the pre-recorded presentation that Rick's doing, but we have one that we've been using, that we put together in 2019, and that will be included. So basically that's the way it's going to go. We're going to have a follow-up email, and then we're going to have a pre-work email coming later, so you can prep for next week's session. Okay, I believe that covers our overview. Again, all this material you can find on site. We're available for any questions you have. As Michael said, the overview that ACHE does, the application overview that they do quarterly, it's interactive. So even though it's recorded and you can hear it later, you can also, if you can join it live, they provide this information even more. Okay. All right. And so on that note, if we can go ahead and go to the healthcare presentation, that would be great.
Hey, Nora,
Yes,
am I doing that or is someone else doing that?
you are.
Okay.
You're our PowerPoint master today.
Sorry.
It's good to see everybody's faces. Hello. And so we are going to be short on time because we do want to spend a lot of time on, well, not a lot, but significant amount of time on the Quizlet. So if I go too fast, please forgive me. We're trying to cram as much as we can into our hour and a half.
I don't want to delay this, but for some reason, I had a mistaken understanding that all of this is in one presentation. If somebody has it ready, like Sherry, maybe can you share it? Or I could just look for it right now.
Oh, I've got it open, I think. Let me see. Give me a sec. We're nothing if not flexible, right?
And as we're going to get prepared for the next session, put in the chat if you've signed up for the test, if you've got dates for your exam. We'd love to hear that. And then we're also going to offer the opportunity for folks to join in as a study group. We found that if we could take a moment, maybe at the end of the sessions, to have people connect, we'll give you some time. I see a November 15th. Great. Congratulations for getting signed up.
Okay, so I'm sorry to interrupt. So I can share, correct? Oh, whose is this?
I just shared it. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Okay, even better.
Okay.
Michael will be our guide. And so I appreciate your honesty. Somebody mentioned that they're coming back to try it again. And we've had many folks come back and do that. I appreciate your looking at that from this perspective. It's an opportunity to even learn more as you go back in. Thank you for adding that.
And in particular, we're going to be asking you then to help us understand if there was anything in particular that helped you understand better on how to prepare for the exam.
At the end,
We're
that would be great.
always looking for improving, and you're going to be in a unique position to tell us, you know, what you found different that was helpful, if that makes sense.
And Michael, as you share, if you put it in slideshow format, we'll get started when you're ready.
Okay.
And thank you, Julie, for offering to do that. We'll definitely have you provide that. That will be very helpful. What were the key things that you think you could pull out from this? So we're going to talk about the healthcare knowledge area. That's our first knowledge area section. There's 28 questions on the exam, or 14%. It's a very much an overview, a generic overview. And as we approach this, as we've talked about, is we're not going to go in deep into content. That allows you the opportunity to look at what the key areas are and then develop your own study plan with the in terms of the content. So there's an area that you don't recognize, you don't have exposure to, you haven't worked in that particular area. That's the important part about then your own study guide and your own preparation and your own work before the exam. So we'll go ahead and move to the next slide, and Nora's going to start us out with that.
So basically, these are the highlights. This comes straight out of the FACHE site for what the highlights are for this particular knowledge area. And so I had sent this out as part of the pre-work as you're listening to Rick's presentation. And again, we don't pretend to give you all of this, but at least this is the overview of what we're going to try to be covering today. So healthcare, medical terminology, healthcare trends, continuum of care, which thank goodness it's becoming, I mean, it's been important for many, many years, but it's taking on a life of its own. The business perspective, the whole business of healthcare, in terms of the different service areas, you know, a hospital runs differently than a home health entity, than inpatient, outpatient. Different healthcare providers, profit, you know, for profit, not for profit, federal, public health, ancillary services. You know, some people, my neighbors still don't understand what's the difference between ancillary, you know, what are the ancillary services? Knowledge of support services, because we're nothing if not a small city, no matter where we go in this industry. Okay, next slide, please.
I'll go ahead and talk about some of the areas here on this slide. And I think if anyone had a chance to view Rick's excellent video beforehand, does anyone remember what the 3 F's are? Type them in if you heard it or if you saw it in terms of healthcare. In Rick's video, I love the way he describes it. It's the 3 F's for facilities, physicians, F, and financing. So just remember that. I mean, that's kind of the buckets. What happens is this is the overview, and then we'll go deep into finance and physicians, structures, and so forth. But you do need to have a general overview of some of these areas. And the integration is really the dependence that departments have within the healthcare industry. So the video, somebody said didn't see a video link, so Nora will work on that. It would have come out in your intro. And these videos we truly appreciate. Rick will talk a little bit more about them, but these are videos that we would like you to prepare with and look at if you can before each of the sessions or after the sessions. This will be recorded, this session, but then we also have some content video knowledge areas coming your way. So really looking at the interdependence between departments within the healthcare sector. And as we look at that, we look at integration as well. Integration like programs you may have been involved with, 340B in pharmacy. Telehealth is an excellent example of integration among healthcare sectors. Knowledge of clinical rules and qualifying criteria. And this is important because as a clinical role, you'll need to know some of the certification requirements, understand practice standards within different professional organizations within healthcare, and bylaws for physicians. Some of the organizations that practice within clinical roles include residence and teaching institutes. So GME, graduate medical education, is something that would be important for you to study on if you haven't had exposure to that. And then each of the professions within healthcare also has a code of ethics. When we look at evidence-based medicine, we've heard the term evidence-based practices. It's really putting a scientific evidence behind whatever either care path, whatever group of order sets, or whatever type of program you want to initiate a service line that you've used evidence-based practice, evidence-based medicine. So another important area to be considerate of. When we look at some of the different levels within healthcare, we can talk about advanced practice nurses, allied health professions. Nora made reference to that. We look at, along with medical MDs, there's advanced practice nurses, physician assistants, and so forth. So that's important to have an understanding about that and some of their roles and responsibilities within healthcare. It's going to be stressed throughout the exam, the patient perspective, and really empowering the patient and providing that level of ability for the patient to communicate their needs and experiences. And that is what we do now in our own organizations and so forth, but it's also going to be something you're going to see in the exam, empowering patients. And then as we look at these interrelationships among healthcare providers and access and quality, there's programs, value-based purchasing programs, bundled payments, innovation centers. So a lot of these are funded by CMS. So you'll want to take a look at those when you understand sort of the overall view of healthcare.
Before we go to the sample questions, for those of you who did not receive an intro email, which included the link to the presentation, please put your name and email address in the chat. I will make sure to send those to you again, and then let me know if you're not able to open the link to the presentation. So we tried to catch everyone, we may not have. So please put that in there and I'll follow up with you directly.
Thanks, Dana. Thank you. Okay, do some sample questions. Next slide.
So this is where we're gonna experience Rick's most fabulous brain walk. Okay, so this is one of the sample questions. We're gonna try to break this down for you, and we still might need to go through this relatively quickly, but we'll see how we work our way through this. Okay, which of the following is true about a capitated managed care organization, MCO arrangement? In this case, it helps to know what capitation means. Okay, A, the provider shifts financial risk to the managed care organization. B, the provider can bill separately for each service provided. C, the provider must wait to bill the MCO until services have been provided to the patient. And D, the provider is paid a set fee. And again, the key to this is to read keywords. Which of the following is true? So we know that the only one of these is going to be correct, true. So the true false things come in. And this is referencing a capitation paid by a managed care organization. So Rick, would you like to do your brain walk on this?
Well, you just did half of it for me. So
Sorry.
again, I'm going to look at it first. And by the way, just to let everyone know, I haven't looked at these questions ahead of time. So every once in a while, I actually get one wrong, but it's a process we're going for, not the end results. So, okay, so I'm going to read the question, and the key words are jumping off to me is capitated and MCO. So obviously connected, but I have to know what those are. And if I understand capitation, then looking at the choices will become a lot easier. So I'm going to treat these not as looking for the best one yet, but I'm going to treat them as if I have 4 separate true-false questions. So the provider shifts financial risk to the MCO. Well, no, I know that's false because in capitation, the risk is shifted from the MCO to the provider. So A is false. A provider can bill separately for each service. Nope, not under capitation. We're looking at a prospective payment here, not fee for service. The provider must wait to bill the MCO until service is provided. Again, wrong, because capitated payment comes per member per month. You get it earlier. So I've already eliminated 3 of the 4. And if the 4th one is wrong, I'm going to be in big trouble. But the 4th one looks like it's true. The provider is paid a set fee. That's the definition of capitation. So I'm going to put D as the correct answer.
Next slide.
Oh, thank God.
All right, next slide. What I mentioned, GME before, graduate medical education, are a concern to government policymakers. So go ahead and read the slide and the answers. And if there's a brain walk here, we want to ask you to go back and reread the question and reread it again just to see where the major key points are in this. So Rick, anything I missed there?
So obviously you have to know something about graduate medical education and how it's funded. So the funding, when we're talking about policy funding, of course, is going to usually be right at the top of the list. So number of residencies and residents are not centrally controlled. Well, the funding is kind of sort of centrally controlled, but not the number of residents. I'm not sure. I'm going to leave that one as a unknown. I'm also going to fight with my cat here. Hold on. The number of medical school graduates exceeds the number of residency positions. Yeah, I think that's true. Managed care organizations are relatively uninvolved in payment. That's not really a policy issue. Many residency programs are filled by FMGs, foreign medical graduates. I don't know if that's a policy issue either. I'm going to be down here. I'm thinking between A and B here. And I'm thinking that B is more correct. So I think I'm going to go with B, but I'm not really confident in my answer.
And one thing to look at as we
See,
look at,
there you go.
I like the way you took us through policy and government, and helped me understand this question more about there isn't really a control by the government in terms of educational components of allowing folks in and out. Whether that's a big issue or not, I'm not sure, but thank you, Rick. You took us through kind of understanding
Even if I got the wrong answer.
what questions to look at, yeah.
And again,
you're not going to know everything. That's the thing to keep in mind. You don't need to score a perfect score.
okay, so which of the following is a unit of measure commonly used to determine physicians' clinical productivity.
Okay,
Now,
this
our
one-
industry is nothing if not famous for acronyms.
you have to be able to speak a foreign language called TLA for three-letter acronym. There's no way to do this other than you got to know what they stand for. So RVU, relative value unit, yeah, that one's true. I'm going to hold with that one. CMS is not a unit of measurement. That's the Center for Medicare Services. IPA, Independent Practice Association. CPU, I think that's part of a computer. So B, C, and D are false. So I'm going to stick with A, which I do know is a unit of productivity. So I'm going to go with A.
Yay, correct.
Sorry, can't help you get around having to learn acronyms.
Next question talks about an interesting concept. This can be a current trend, the greatest impact on healthcare organizations, because there's been a lot that's discussed in the news and in different Beckers and so forth. But what population demographic is currently having the greatest impact on healthcare organizations? And when you look at impact, think of a big word, think of a big concept around all different elements, as we talked about it, facilities, physicians, and financing as part of the healthcare. So anything I missed on that for a brain walk?
Yeah, the one that I'm going to emphasize here is not the word impact, but the word greatest.
Good idea.
Because when I see greatest, it's telling me that there could be more than one, and I've got to judge which one is the one that's having the biggest impact. So the true false here doesn't quite work as well, because does ethnic composition have an impact on health organizations? Yeah. Does insurance coverage? I think so. Geographic distribution, population of, yeah, certainly we see issues in rural health. Age cohort, yeah, that does too. So I've got to look at this and think, which one is the one having the biggest impact? And I know that that ethnic composition isn't changing. Insurance coverage, it's changing, but not drastically, not as much as 10 years ago. Geographic distribution, we're not really seeing much of a change. Oh, but we do have an aging population. That's where we're seeing a trend. So I'm going to go with D on this one.
Hey.
Good catch about greatest.
Yeah.
This is one of those that, for me, it helps to read backwards. Healthcare organizations, what's impacting them? What's the greatest? The demographic factor of a population, so that was perfect, Rick. Thank you. Oh, me. Sorry. Okay. And okay. Public reporting of outcomes information has become a high priority for healthcare payers because, okay, high priority for payers. And what is it? Public reporting of outcomes. Take it away, Rick.
Okay, so one of the problems with this one is that each of the answers is kind of long, right? So you do want to make sure you're reading it thoroughly. So measurements, performance have become well-established, standardized. Well, they're established, not really standardized, certainly not accepted by all parties. I'm going to go false there. Purchasers are pressuring for disclosure of meaningful performance standards. Absolutely. That one's true. Consumers are well organized, not on this planet. Physicians are encouraging their patients. Yeah, right. So I've got A, C, and D to me, or C and D particularly seem false. A, we might be able to make an argument for, but B is the one that I think is absolutely true. So I'm going to go with B.
Correct.
Healthcare savings accounts were established through which law? And why don't I just have folks put this in the chat, and because for a fairly straightforward question, this is a good example of when you take topics or concepts and you want to do a grid, and we'll talk more about that. But for some of the legislation, some of the laws that were passed, some of the programs, it's always good to think along those lines in terms of the best way for you to study. I'm a visual person, so I would put grids out. So when we get to things like COBRA and some of the topics we're going to learn about in the human resources, or some of the legislative pieces that were important in our history and healthcare, setting up a grid with a table, a format will help you with this. So looking at what people would want to suggest was health savings accounts, where did it come in under?
And it never fails. I always forget the answer on this one.
Okay, people have got some B's and B's and B's. Okay, let's see what we got. Good job. All right, you're on your way. Next slide.
Okay, the most useful way for a healthcare organization to deal with outside regulatory and credentialing bodies is to, okay, keyword in there, most useful way. So this, again, one or more of these may be a useful way, may be true in that way, but which one is the most? Rick, love your perspective.
Yeah, again, looking at most, so identify opportunity to influence political outcomes. We know that happens. It's probably not the most useful, and having run a regulatory agency, I will say it pisses us off. Regularly maintain both formal and informal relationships. Yeah, that does work. So that's true. Deal with them only in written form. Now that one kind of conflicts with B. And having a clear paper trail, that tells me that something's already gone wrong, if you're thinking about the paper trail. And provide only the minimum amount of information. Now, again, that just gets us to dig further. So that's not the most useful. So I'm going to go with B on this one.
Next slide, please. Oh, did I not have the answer for that one?
Well, the answer.
Sorry, I must have eliminated that slide. I'll fix that when we send this out.
Okay.
And the answer, you're correct. Can you go back? Oh, there it is. Yes,
yeah.
That is correct. And again, that formal and informal relationship, most useful way. That's the one that fits. Okay, next slide, please.
Our last sample question before we go to Quizlet. So this is a long question, and it's a good time to do what we've been suggesting, is read it slowly. The principal advantage for an inpatient facility to affiliate with a geriatric care program is that such an arrangement, and we can think about different programs we've talked about, or you'll understand about in terms of payments and so forth, but an inpatient facility affiliating with a geriatric care program. And I like the way you go backwards too, to see if there's any key things I need to look at in terms of ifs, ands, or buts, and I don't. So why don't you put in the chat what you think, and then Rick, anything you'd add? Whoops, that's okay. A, we got some A's, thank you.
Yeah, and I would have put A2 as the principal advantage. I'm looking for all advantage and not just one, and also the advantage to the inpatient facility. So D is going to be wrong because it's maybe an advantage to the patient, not the facility. B and C is, well, not necessarily. B, I mean, let's say you couldn't get care there before, the affiliation might make it easier. I'm not sure where less skilled people come in here at this point. So A, besides just sounding right, makes sense when you eliminate the other three.
And thank you, Sanjit, you put in the chat where all are correct, the principle is A, and that's kind of how we want you to think, is that looking for that as you mentioned, ties in the principal advantage, the prime example. So the bigger picture, and this is a national test. So we'll stress too that it's on not on a state level or a local level. So a principal advantage, as you mentioned, is correct in terms of bundled care, bundled payments, all the different things, and the continuum of care. So thank you.
And Sherry, you brought up a good point that we should emphasize earlier, particularly when we get to HR and laws and regs. We aren't talking California specific, we're talking on a national scope. So that's helpful to remember that, because otherwise we get bogged down. Well, in California, no.
So
National
a lot of CMS financing, a lot of CMS programs, a lot of overview from the government payer program perspective. So.
And that was our last question?
It was.
Oh, no, a couple more.
Pardon me.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so your Board of Trustees has voted to terminate the privileges of a physician. Which of the following organizations must you inform? Okay, Board of Trustees, terminating the privileges of a physician. So there's.
I'm going to emphasize there the word must.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm looking for something regulatory, right? If you have to, you're required to. Well, AMA is not a regulatory agency. They're an interest group. Local medical society, same thing. There's no reason I would have to tell either one of them. Joint Commission, same thing. I mean, I don't have to tell Joint Commission on specific things about specific physicians. So I'm left with National Practitioner Data Bank. And again, if you know what that is, you know that all hospitals and all state licensing agencies are required to report any actions they take against physicians, and then to check them when someone's applied for privileges. So both knowing that and by process of elimination, I can get to see, even if I didn't know what the data bank was, I could have gotten to it by elimination, just knowing that I'm looking for something that I must report to.
All righty, yay.
And I believe we have one more.
This is it, our last question on healthcare, sample question. Effective facilities maintenance depends on, and again, Rick, take us through the brainwalk.
Okay, so I know absolutely nothing about facilities maintenance. So this is going to be a problem because I won't know the answer automatically. I got to see if I can figure it out. So life cycle planning of equipment, is that a real thing? That sounds like they just threw a bunch of words in. I'm going to hold on that one. Up-to-date inventory of equipment parts replacement. Well, yeah, you probably do need to have it, but does it depend on that, or can you order them? Periodic update of a preventive maintenance schedule. Let's see. Updating the schedules, is how I'm reading that. I don't know if that really helps. I mean, as long as I'm doing that on a schedule. Let's see. Maintaining facilities on a preventive schedule. What's a preventive schedule? Man, I don't know. I mean, I'm having trouble eliminating.
So I think one of the things that you mentioned is when we've gone through this is really it's an action question. What's effective maintenance? And as you had suggested before, a preventative schedule is a real actionable item in this.
Yeah.
And I like the way you said is updating the schedule important? Is updating the inventory important? Life cycle planning of equipment is important, but really what a facilities department needs to do is maintain that preventative schedule. And a lot of that has to do with all the regulatory pieces, but some of the requirements to keep things running. So I like the way you took us through it, Richard, because you're really looking at what's action items.
Yeah, and again, you're not going to know the answer to everything instinctively, right? No matter how good you are, you're not that good. Sorry, right? So there's the 10 areas, and you're probably going to know a bunch of them pretty well, and a bunch of them you can fake your way through. And then there's a bunch you're going to say, oh God, I hope that's not another one of those questions. So you're going to do your best to logically figure out what you can eliminate. And sometimes it's down to flipping a coin between two. And that's okay. As long as you don't have to do that on too many, you can get some wrong. No one knows what the pass rate is. They don't tell you that, by the way. So we don't know if it's 70%, 80%, 50%. No one really knows that, but it's not 100%. And don't worry about thinking it is. There are just some areas you don't know.
Well, thank you.
Well, I will say that this is a clear example of the broadest is the correct one, because everything else flows from maintaining a preventive schedule. Everything else flows from that. So
we'll take a moment here and transition to Quizlet. And Nora, as we're doing that, maybe you can describe about Quizlet a little bit more. Nora and Michael, anyone chime in?
Michael's better at it than I am.
Okay, Michael.
Really? Okay, so the Quizlet. So it's an electronic tool that we use for practice tests. There's it has all the 10 body of knowledge, and you can there's a different way on how you can practice there. Though it depends on how your learning methodology is, like multiple questions, true false, matching type, and etc. So, and I think it's already on the screen, and and you can also use this one as a flashcard as well. So, and the Quizlet actually is I was talking about the cognitive levels of test questions. Mostly the Quizlet is a knowledge and comprehension based questions, wherein we need to know those as a test taker so that we'll be able to apply in the questions when we take the the exam, actual exam. So Quizlet really helped me before when I was preparing for the exam to remember all those terminologies and facts. Then I was able to apply those when I took the exam.
So before we, like for the next session, we'll just show you very briefly how to open it, how to get in. But the key for what we're presenting during this session is we are creating a test from scratch. We've chosen the format we've chosen that's most effective for our purpose is we're putting 10 questions together, 5 of which are multiple choice and 5 which are true false. We do ask for you to answer. We don't even know the answers, so you can answer in chat, and right away we'll be able to look and see if we're correct or not. Okay.
Sounds great. We'll just jump into it from here. So this is Nick again. I really like to just drill test questions. I love it when test makers say these questions aren't meant to confuse you or trip you up, because I know that is completely untrue. So with that being said, I'm just going to read the questions and answers, and then feel free to answer in the chat, and also you can type in a Y behind your answer. So we want you to be interactive. So question 1, services that relate to a patient's care, such as lab work, x-rays, and anesthesia, academic health center, ancillary services, shared governance, or patient-centered care. And then if someone could just shout out the majority answer to help me out here.
Yeah,
Sure.
and rather than typing out the full word, you can just say A, B, C, or D.
Right.
Just pretend it's all A, B, C, D.
Just give us a Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta.
We'll remember and show the answers at the end.
Yeah. Well, you can go ahead. Okay.
What's everybody saying here?
Bravo.
Bravo. Okay.
Bravo.
Bingo. Question 2.
But you can fill in the. Oh, you did. Okay, sorry. Okay.
A type of health plan that contracts directly with providers to create a network. Enrollees pay less if they use providers in the network. Preferred provider organization, point of service plan, health savings account, or health maintenance organization.
We're a little split between Alpha and Bravo. Couple more votes. A or B? Okay, Alpha.
Okay, proof. PPO. Question 3. An institution that encompasses all of the health-related components of a university, including its health profession school, patient care operations, and research enterprise, supply chain management, hospital pre-authorization, average length of stay, or academic health center. We need to
Like
get some, oh, go ahead,
D.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, D.
We need to get some Jeopardy music in the background for Alex Trebek. May he rest in peace. Okay, question 4. Charitable care, educational services, and other benefits that a healthcare organization provides to its community to qualify as a tax-exempt charity under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code. Community benefit, preferred provider organization, critical access hospital, or acute care hospital.
Alpha.
Okay, community benefit. Question 5, management of the flow of goods and services, including the movement and storage of raw materials, of work in progress inventory, WIP, and of finished goods from the point of origin to the point of consumption. Hospital pre-authorization, evidence-based management, supply chain management, academic health center.
Charlie.
Okay, supply chain management. Moving to true false format. So remove your multiple choice hat, put on your true false hat. A program developed by the American Nurses Credentialing Center that recognizes healthcare organizations for quality patient care, nursing excellence, and innovations in professional nursing practice. Magnet designation is the ultimate credential for high quality nursing. So health savings account, I think it's asking, is the answer health savings account true or false?
Foxtrot.
Okay, Foxtrot. We know our phonetic alphabet here. The federal agency responsible for administrating Medicare, Medicaid, and state children's health insurance program. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
True.
Okay, that's an easy one. 3. Okay. Let's see, an account created for individuals who are covered under high deductible health plans to save for medical expenses that the plans do not cover. Service lines.
False.
Okay, false. The independent not-for-profit organization that evaluates and monitors the quality of care provided in hospitals. Joint Commission, everybody's favorite organization. So, yeah. Stood a couple of those inspections.
True.
True. Okay, thank you, Sherry. Last question. A patient's self-determination or the right to make decisions regarding his or her own healthcare, patient-centered care.
We got some trues. Oh, we got a false. Split.
Split.
Couple more. True. Okay, let's go with true.
Let's flip a coin. Just kidding. So, all right, that's all 10 questions. Let's check our answers. And you gotta go back up to the top here. Correct. Okay. We're 5 for 5 multiple choice. And it looks like, oh, we missed the last one. Okay. So 9 out of 10, not too shabby. And let me jump out of screen share.
Yeah, that was
Excellent
pretty good.
job.
Yeah, great job.
Gives you a feel for the questions.
And Michael, thanks for answering in the chat. All roads to Quizlet lead through purchasing the flashcard set from ACHE directly. Back in the day, literally the flashcards were only the actual physical flashcards. And the beauty of having the physical flashcards is, again, you've got the answer in the front or the back, or you can answer back to front. But adding the digital access now where you can create sample tests, custom sample tests is, in my opinion, the game changer. Several people have found that be very, very useful. And and so, okay, someone who purchased the flashcards, there is and Nick, I think you're someone who discovered that there is a card within the package that gives you the link and how to log into Quizlet.
Yes, when you purchase the flashcards, you'll get a long garbled password for your first time, one-time access, and then you can change your password from there. The flashcards retail for $140, but it is about 5 pounds. It feels like a cinder block. So there's a ton of flashcards in there and a lot of really good information.
Oh, and so Sachin, you were the one that just recently discovered how to find the note within the flashcard box that shows how
Yeah. So what
to
they've
set
done
up your
is,
account.
yeah, with the recent packaging, they included. I don't know if it's supposed to be tricky, but they mixed it up with all of the rest of the cards with instructions on how to activate your Quizlet access. So there's a URL in it, and as well as I think like a 16-character code or something like that, where you go into Quizlet and you punch in that 16-character code, and that'll let you give you access to it, at which point you can also change your password.
And Julie is helping us with a resource that I'm not familiar with, brainscape.com/subject/HCHE. I will look into that and see. I am not familiar with, see, this is what we learn every time from our participants. I will look into that and see. Anyone on the panel aware of that site? Rick, have you seen that one before?
I haven't. I'm just looking at it now.
Yeah, I'm excited. I will look it up. And Julie, we may have you show us on the next session. So, you know, let me work with you on looking at it, because nope, I hadn't heard of it before. All right.
So thank you all. This is great. I think we'll remind you that next week we'll have finance and.
So Connie, I'm sorry, Connie's raising her hand. Can you get off mute? Can't hear you. Or can you?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Connie.
Jump in here because I've been really looking forward to like practice tests, and I just pulled out my flashcards, and
Those are big.
Yeah, and they're really great because they're all color coded by the subject.
Yeah.
Testing area, but I can tell you there isn't a link for Quizlet or anything on this.
And Sachin, you found it like very deep in the thing, right?
Yeah, it looks pretty similar. Maybe let me go back and see if I can
Was it in
find
the
it while
back?
I'm- No, it was
So-
in the box. It was in the box, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Connie, one of the things that I did was I bought mine before there was access, but if you reach out to ACHE and give them the invoice and info, yeah, they'll provide it.
Okay, I'll call them on Monday because.
Boy, those are big. The ones I'm familiar with are like these smaller ones. So
It's big, and they're.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing.
Oh, and at the one of these in the back, they'll give you a whole bunch of sources.
Yep.
You know, I need to get used to how to work this there. There we go. So again, I highly recommend these, and ACHE is not paying me to say that. So
Trust us.
okay. Sorry to interrupt, Sherry.
Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
no. I appreciate it. This is excellent. Appreciate
I
the,
actually
sharing.
have the picture of it. I don't know if I can show it on. Let me see how close I can get to, okay? I'm gonna put it on my camera here. Can you tell me if you're able to see this?
Hold it up.
Oops, sorry.
No, not really.
We'll have to send a screenshot, I think.
Yeah, I'll include a screenshot in it. It basically has something called Board of Governors Examination Flashcards Digital Access, and the unique access code is typed in there, and with a URL that you need to log into. So if you could just go back and again, you'll have a little patient, maybe 10 minutes or so sorting through all the cards. I'm sure you'll find that buried somewhere.
All right, well, thank you. Excellent sharing of knowledge of success, different things. So that's really what makes this a great collaborative session for us all. So just as a reminder, next week will be finance, which is 18 questions, 9%, and human resources, 22 questions on the exam, 11%. And then Nora, do you want to just reiterate, Nora and Nick, the email cadence for folks?
So, you know, I'm concerned about how many people did not receive the intro. So thank you for putting your info in there. I will be sure and send the intro again with the link to the healthcare presentation. As well as, well, actually, I don't need to resend the intro. Yes, I do. And then the next email out will be this presentation. Sachin will provide the link to the recording because we're on YouTube, we're famous, to the YouTube recording. So that'll be one email set, and then the next one will be the pre-work for next week. We are going to, whatever questions we did not respond to in the chat, I'd like to keep like an FAQ and update slide in the next presentation. So we'll try to answer your questions there. Again, we so appreciate everyone's participation. This is the beauty of this. And again, I learned something from all of you all the time. So thank you.
And then we have the CSU. Thank you. If you want to talk a little bit about those recorded knowledge area videos, Rick?
They were actually created for our College Bowl team as they prep for the annual competition, which we didn't have last year. We're hoping to have next year. But the College Bowl for undergrads is a Jeopardy style that's based on the 10 areas of the exam. So we run our team through what's basically a BOG prep class every year. And Stan and I created those videos. And then in our practice sessions, we actually just do what we're doing now, which is run through lots and lots of practice questions for them. And that's, by the way, how Chico keeps winning.
A question on, thank you, Rick, on that you get qualifying educational units for our presentation. And Nora, if you want to expand on that.
Okay, so this is not face-to-face credits. These are qualified education credits, and these are ones you self-report in the My ACHE section within your account. If you want the face-to-face credits, you need to sign up with the ACHE BOG session.
Each chapter has been allotted a certain amount they can do virtually, and arts is the qualifying criteria for this presentation. So, but thank you for the question. I'm glad we clarified that. Appreciate you asking that. Well, great questions, great session. Anything to add? Our commitment is to stay on track time-wise, so you get as much as you can taking from your Saturday. So we're cognizant of that to be with us.
Okay, so a couple more questions. So this particular web series is worth 7.5 qualified education credits. The virtual session that you registered through ACHE is worth 14 face-to-face credits.
And virtual Congress did award face-to-face credits.
Oh, that's what that question is.
Yeah.
Yes, the one that just passed. Yes, those
Right.
were face-to-face.
Good point. If you took any of those or participated, was a
That's
good way to get
so.
it.
as fellows, we have to re-credential every 3 years. So we have to have the exact continuing education and face-to-face credits that you do when you initially apply and get to fellow. So I tell you what, I ate up those face-to-face credits through virtual Congress. You said next year it's going to be in person. Is that what I understood?
That's what we understand.
Okay. But yeah, it was a steal. The price was a steal this time around. One of the things that we also were kind of really short on time. There was one of the things that we said in the overview. If you apply for your application, if you apply for fellow between March and the end of June annually, usually ACHE will waive the exam fee, the $225 exam fee. And we always tell everybody, take the test, even if you don't think you're ready, because it's free. And even if you don't pass, it'll give you scores on each of the sections. So, you know, that's one way you can take the exam for free. Oh, and Julie said she had no test fee. Okay.
She took it. Well, again, thank you. We have gotten through all our materials, questions, and we're at 11:29. So we do appreciate that you're participating, and look forward to being with you again next Saturday for Finance and Human Resources. So we'll have you sign out and have a good rest of your weekend.
Thank you so much.
Okay.